And welcome everyone to the episode 5 spoilercast of The Last of Us. As always, I'm Mitch. You can follow me at the link tree in description and find all the 692 socials. And of course, I'm joined by Sean.
You can join me at Martian_12. I don't have a link tree, but you can just follow me. Yeah. I'm not that special.
I've only got a link tree because it's like, hey, people are doing this now. It's like, cool, I'll make one. And then sat there for hours, like making it my own with the free stuff because I ain't paying for Linktree. Sod that. Yeah. I had to really think about saying "sod that" and not another word because YouTube will absolutely demonetize this video. Hopefully, "sod that" actually makes it through. If not, I'm going to find out soon enough.
We're very much editing it.
So. Yeah. Well, good. Last week I didn't have to edit a single thing.
Oh, okay.
Well done. It was all good. Well, I assume it was all good. I'll find out in the month when YouTube's like, "Here, you had nothing." I was like, "Oh, cool, thanks." I appreciate it, YouTube.
Like 2 pops that you didn't hear.
Yeah. So yeah, episode 5.
Continuing to be depressing show ever.
Mm-hmm. You will learn very quickly. You meet someone new in this show, they don't last long. Or in this story. You meet someone, they die. They meet someone, they die.
I looked at the IMDb because after this episode, I was like, so if I can kind of predict who's going to be one episode and die by seeing how many episodes they're in, you know?
Yeah.
So I think, again, really great episode. I think it ratcheted tension up really, you know, in the most proper way, you know, but it's just with a gut-wrenching one, more so than the Frank. I think the Frank and Bill one was like a different type of feeling. It was sad.
Yeah, because Bill and Frank ended on that poignant note. It's all their terms. This one was sudden and without.
It's sad.
It was just it was obviously not a shock to the audience, right? Because we knew. I can never get their names the right way around. If the kid Sam and the guys
Henry and Sam, the guys Henry and the kid Sam, yeah.
Oh, is that right? So yeah, we knew Sam. No, to be fair, you played the game. You know what happens to Sam and Henry. You know how that ends up. But
there's a lot of stories out there that people write that are like, Sam and Henry, one episode people. So.
Oh yeah, sure. If you look at the cast listings, you know what's going to happen on IMDb. But everyone else is like, it's just that sudden. It was so quick that ending, but that's jumping ahead to that. But
yeah, I mean, I thought again, probably pretty perfect episode.
I would say it's not perfect. Just to jump in there slightly because of what's her face. I can't think of her name.
Monica
Kathleen. The character's name. I think it was Kathleen or something. But yeah, her.
Yeah.
I gave her a shot. I wasn't feeling her in this episode. No.
Really?
It's the character, right? Like it doesn't help that. not that it really matters in the end, but she's not from she's in the whole the original character, right? And that's not to say that all the original characters will ever be bad. That is absolutely not what I'm saying. But I felt like she was not a good change to the story because for the most part, again, they're sticking very close. There are some minor changes here or there, like location and how things play out in the suburb bit, but she was new. I don't think she served any real purpose to Sam and Henry's story. I think it was she didn't add anything for them personally. It's like, okay, cool.
I would half agree with that. I agree with the part that they really didn't. I don't think they needed her. For Sam and Henry's story, because it was kind of, I think Sam and Henry's story was kind of self-explained, like you could have just done without it. But I did like her performance. Like it did kind of give me the chills because it's like she gave me that, like she just how she was acting like. She acted like she didn't want to do this, but behind in her head, she's like, I want to do this. I want to kill you.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, it's the whole point of this world, right? It's like what lengths are people willing to go to just survive, right? And
I mean, and her crew was probably more, I think, worse or in the same vein as the Feta people. You know, like you take one evil and replace it with another evil. You know, and and she was. It was like she was an opportunist, that saw a chance to take control of a people, like that were oppressed.
Ironically, though, she's a very good indication of what's to come down the line. Not in this series, but other season 2. Yeah. She's a very good indication of what this world's about and what this story is necessarily leading towards right now. So it's...
Yeah, and
but I will say I enjoyed the scene where she's in her bedroom, like her childhood bedroom growing up, and she's going on about like her brother and I enjoyed that, but I just couldn't get past it. It's like you're not necessary in this story. She just felt like she was there for the sake of having something new there, and it's like
she was kind of menacing, that whole conversation she was having with her second in command, he's looking at her going, is she gonna kill me? Because like at the end of that conversation, it was implying that she was like doubting what he was saying, and like I don't know, and he was like grasping at straws to keep her on his good side, so she, he wouldn't end up like Henry, Henry was, like. But I was talking to my wife, and she was like she loves The Walking Dead, and I was like, I was telling her, I was like, this is much better than The Walking Dead. This is what The Walking Dead should have been, and it just kind of spiraled out of control into like nonsense, And I think we watched this episode together, and she now wants to go back and rewatch the whole, because let's face it, I think this is like a better version of The Walking Dead, I
mean, in fairness, I'm not a massive fan of the game The Last of Us, but the story I always thought was fantastic. It's the other half of that game, right? I was never a massive fan of that gameplay, but the story itself I loved, but I think that this, in comparison to every other zombie thing, is slightly unfair because this does it so much better than anything. Like this is like the pinnacle of any like zombie media for me. Like you don't get better than this.
Well, I think what it comes down to is like The Walking Dead was overstaying its welcome. Like,
100%, yeah. It overstayed its welcome from season 1. In fairness, for me, I stopped at season 1. I was like, no, I'm done with this show.
I think season 3 was great. I think it could have ended right there. But like, unfortunately, and like, but the way this show's going is like, it doesn't have that length of time, it's going to be very finite, and like they
I mean, so far it's only going to be 2 seasons. Like they've not got anything else to go off of.
Well, I mean, I think at the end of the day, if they want to make a 3rd season, I'm sure they could figure out a way to do it.
They can, but Druckmann has said, who's one of the leads on the game and is an EP on this, that they're not gonna go any further unless they have. Well, unless there's a 3rd game. If there's a 3rd game, then they will go further and adapt that 3rd game, right? But whether that's a case of The Last of Us Part 2 is split into 2 seasons, so you have 3, which then gives them time to make the 3rd game and get that out there, and then you can carry on that way. I don't know. That's the indication I get right now, but
I go by I try not to go by what people say, because a lot of times I think plans change. The studio loves
I mean,
they're going to try to
at the same time I believe, like, say what you will about the rest of Warner Bros. And HBO and all that, but people said that with Watchmen, and it's been years since that show. We've not had a 2nd season. We've heard nothing about the 2nd season. Like, if they want to do it, they're going to do it. Like, they let that thing. They let that thing sit there and lie.
And
better or for worse, it's that show's aged like wine, right? That thing is I think fantastic. Then it's fantastic now. Right.
I'll be honest with you, and I'm a very patient person when it comes to stuff like this. I could care less how long it takes. that means that they're trying to figure out the best story possible, to show you, and I like that. I don't need another season of something every 2 years or every year, that means that people are rushing to get things done, and that's when people start making mistakes. And then you start.
So sure, on the flip side, the whole rushing, rushing, you got Westworld, and that was like 2 years between seasons, and that fell off the wagon very quickly.
That was
which is unfortunate because I adored that show. Yeah, I adored.
Yeah, the first 2 seasons was like great, and I mean, I think it's just unfortunate not everybody thinks that way. They want, they get impatient, they want it now, and then they pressure of that gets to the studios, and like next thing you know,
but they had years between seasons on that. There was at least 2 years between each season.
I think that was another case of like this. It's like I think that show needed a finite season 1 through 3, and that's it.
Yeah, I agree.
But they just kind of overstay their welcome. Like once they get the season, I watched almost all every season, and like I can tell you, it just gets worse and worse, progressively worse.
I can't remember if I've watched season 4.
Well, that's a good indication you probably have. You just forgot about it, or you've seen clips of it and you're like, no, that's not for me. Season 4 was just nonsense.
Exactly remember.
Well,
did I see it when was season 4 where they were all out in the world and all that? Yeah, no, I haven't seen that one. Yeah,
it's like, I mean, if you're not into it, I wouldn't put the time in because it's just nonsense. Like season 4 was just such a dramatic drop in quality in storytelling. It was just like it made you actively hate the good seasons because of that very point. And
also, you got Tandy Newton out here being a crazy SOB. Right?
I mean,
just like what happened to Tandy Newton?
You had to be bad when you get fired from the next Magic Mike, movie.
Yeah.
You've made a wrong move in your career. I don't know. But to get back to the show, I think, I think what I love about the show is it's kind of like it slowly boils. It gets to a boiling point, and then that it bottlenecks and it just explodes. Like that one scene where they catch like Joel's in the sniper position, the watchtower, and they corner Henry and the crew, and like you knew once you've seen that, like from the last episode, once you've seen that floor start bubbling up, you knew that was going to play into that next episode.
Oh yeah,
that was just like that's not going to be good, man. Like
well, this is the thing, right? Like even if you don't click, for a lack of a better word, right?
Yeah.
That was, I'm gonna say pun intended. But like you don't click the fact that this floor is the infected. It's like, oh, hold on, they're fungus. It's really humid underground. Fungus is gonna spread and grow and thrive, and you're gonna get a bloater at the end of it. That suit is fantastic.
Like them. And what I loved about this is like it doesn't do a lot of close-up gory stuff. They do it kind of in the background, and like like it saves, like I think it saves the maybe the budget, like for makeup effects.
Yeah, because you can tell the budget went on the suits and all the all the effects.
Yeah, and they do. It's very gory, and like it's just basically mainly people getting bitten. But like the scenes where like you see in the background where the second in command is like, go run and hide, I'll take care of this guy. That guy must have known that he is not going to get past that point. Like no bullets.
Oh yeah.
And then you see him getting kind of ripped in half. It's like like, and then what really
it's what bloaters do best. They always rip your jaw off. Your head just comes off. It's like, okay, that's one way to die. Cool.
I remember like that. There's 2 scenes that really kind of percolate. 3 scenes really, but like the first one was like when that kid clicker was after Ellie.
Oh, I hated that. She gets in the car and she's all like the head. It's that horrible thing of the head stays still, but everything like spins and twirls around it. Oh,
it's really
loved it. But the fact that it's a kid and it's all wily and it can move and it's like, no,
and it's just gnarly, And then the second scene is when it's Henry and Sam underneath the car. And I was like, I looked
yeah,
at my
because
wife.
you obviously knew it was coming, but
Yeah.
you see that and you're like, oh, I remember the bit with the clickers, and when they first meet them, it's like they're gone. That's that's the end of Sam and Henry right there.
But like I knew at that point that was going to happen. That was the outcome of that, you know. But then when you get to that scene, it still takes you by surprise what happens, you know. Like it's like it does that classic, you know, that trope with like, you know, with the zombie things where you wake up and you see the person kind of standing up, not saying anything.
Yeah.
And of course he would not say anything anyways because he's deaf, you know. But like
which is a change, which is an interesting change. I thought they made.
And I think it really makes it more poignant in a way because it's not only a kid that's doing that happened to, it's like a kid with a disability, you know, like that makes it even worse, you know.
Because a disability and also leukemia.
Yeah,
like this kid wasn't ever meant to survive in the nicest way possible. Like as what Kathleen says, you know, Henry's toying with fate. Like this kid isn't meant to go past. Like he's not meant to survive. Like he's never going to survive. You're just prolonging the inevitable. But
and it makes it even worse. Is like this is like Henry's salvation. Like him saving Sam. You know, like he knows that Sam is not going to be alive for long, but like he didn't want him to suffer the same fate of these other people. You know, like a kid shouldn't have to do all this stuff. And like, you know, Henry just says he's the bad guy, you know, but this is like a redemption arc for Henry. And it just really, I think it really it made my stomach sink, you know, after that last scene with him, and he's the one that has to do it. And then like his like reaction to it was even worse, you know. It just was like, man, these two, it shows how hopeless this place is, you know. Like, you know, Ellie might be the cure for this stuff, but it's like at the end of the day, you're like, man, is it too late? You know, like these people, like the people have changed. If they're not infected, they're just changed. You know, they've turned animalistic and tribal. You know, and like, you know, like society. You know, you question whether society will ever be the same. You know, even if they get past this, you know, infection thing. You know, but you know, I was explaining to my wife. I was like, does the Walking Dead thing much better. You know, it tells a more compelling story than what The Walking Dead ever did.
Oh yeah, 100% easily.
Not to despair Walking Dead, you know, fans, but
despair that show. It deserves it. That thing is hot poo poo.
Yeah, you know, I always looked at later seasons as being when people die. I felt like it was more of a shock to shock people than it was a storytelling device. You know, like a thing to say like. Sometimes you get attached to characters, but it's like you end up at the end of the day you just don't care because I don't know.
The deaths in this show are all character development. They all lead towards something. They don't die just for the sake of dying. They die for reasons.
It started with his daughter, and it's going to continue until you know.
Oh, it's going to continue, all right.
Until blank blank blank. You know? Yeah.
No, because this, you know, the whole Sam and Henry thing, that, you know, just to talk about the changes some more, because I feel like it's obviously done on purpose. Right? They de-aged the kid.
Yeah.
Right. Again, I've forgotten which one. Hence Sam, if it is the kid.
Yeah. Sam was the kid.
In the game, he was a lot closer to Ellie's age. So in the game, you had that. She's with someone her own age. She's doing like, you know, you got a little bit of that in this, but obviously it's different because he's younger and not, you know, the same age. You can connect and relate to a bit more because, you know, these two are solely here to push Ellie's character forward, right? You know, she's learned that she might be immune, but it doesn't necessarily mean her blood is innately a cure.
Yeah,
like, it's not just I'm immune. Here, have some of my. I'm gonna put my this cut on my hand on your leg and hope and pray that it works and tell you that's all gonna be fine. And it's like, I've just lied to this 8-year-old who's just then died. Like,
he's got a death note right now. You know, he's gonna die, and she knows it, but inside she's like trying to justify it and make him feel better. You know,
it's her testing things out, right? It's like because she's had everyone telling her she's had to survive. She has to get to this place to do it. And she's tried something out and it's failed. Like, that's going to rock a kid's world, especially someone her age. That's going to destroy a person. It's like, oh, what's the point? Like, I couldn't even save this kid. Like, what's the point in us even going on this journey?
Well, I love her reaction at the very end, right? You know, that tells you exactly where she's at. You know, she's just like, okay. You know, just kind of like nonchalantly, you know, after everything has happened, you know, she's kind of nonchalantly says, I forgot what she said, but it came off very, you know, whatever, you know, like it didn't, I don't know, like it's just, she's so numb to everything, right? And
I think that's what it is, right? She's having that phase now. It's like she's just lost all feeling, and it's especially with that I'm sorry note, like, oh, that killed me inside. That was.
And it's funny to see, like,
my stuff out.
Joel's kind of going in the opposite, right? You know, he's starting to kind of get the feelings back, you know, in a way. And like, he started out as the cold machine, you know. But yeah, you know, I love the conversation between him and Henry, Joel and Henry, while they're in that classroom thing, and they're playing, and like he tells his like story, you know, and like he kind of confesses that, you know, like what he did.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not a good guy. I've done a bad guy thing, so therefore I am a bad guy. It's like very black and white view, and everything in a very grey world.
Yeah, like, I mean, in this world, every decision you make is probably a bad decision. You know, like you can't, you know, like you're always looking out.
You are breaking up, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, am I?
Yeah, roboting. No, that was bad. Yeah, bad and delayed. Yeah.
How bad is it now?
I mean, it's all right now. It's not fantastic, but
I mean, but how's that?
That's much better. Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But anyways, you know, like. It's a very, like I told my wife, I was like, it's very depressing. This show will be very
depressing. You know? Oh, you have no idea. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Well, I mean, like it's just like the first 4 episodes alone, you know, like even like it just was like it just kind of went down this hill, you know, and like every once in a while it does the peak and valley where there's like a bit of humor but like it's for the most part a bleak as hell show, you know.
So you got to have some levity in this, right? Like you're dealing with kids, you're gonna always have some form of levity because that's how that character's gonna cope with the situation. It's like you're not this like Joel, this like 50-year-old just ground down by everything and like, oh.
Well, the I don't know if it was episode 2 with the pun joke. You know, they're sleeping outside. That part was great. You know, like he finally laughs. You know, like you know, and
that was last episode, wasn't it?
Was it last episode?
Was it last week? Yeah.
Yeah, I believe.
Yeah, she has the diarrhea joke, and he's laying down on the thing, and he goes like.
Yeah, and like it's one of the few times you see him show any type of different emotion versus like just that cold, you know, sterile outlook, you know. And I like that, you know. It gives you that kind of break point on the bleakness of it, you know. But then it just goes right back into like, you know, that like the reality of the situation, you know.
Yeah. It's there to remind you they are people too. They are normal function. Well, I say normal. They are functioning humans. They have more than one setting of dower.
Yeah.
Despite everything, there is always that little glimmer of other emotions in there. You can find something in a bad situation.
Yeah, I mean, and you kind of have to, right? You know, you can't, like, I don't know, as a functioning human being, you have to, you know, distract yourself from bad. That's how people. That's a defense mechanism for, you know, depression sometimes, you know.
Yeah.
But
see, otherwise you're just gonna go crazy and. What's the point in going on?
I mean, I think the end result is like what the militia was. Like they were, it was just, it's all like dour and sour. You end up, you're more like susceptible to falling in line with people like Karen, and she's using the situation to her benefit, and I don't think she cares about her brother as much as she's letting on as that she's using this as a catalyst for control, like to control these people.
Yeah, I got that impression slightly. It's just like, do you actually? Obviously, she cares to an extent, but it's like, is it really about that anymore? Like, you just trying to prove a point.
I think, and I think it's just like any other human being in that situation. They see a point where they can an exploding point, and they're going to take it, especially in a situation like this. I mean, sure, I mean, I can say that I wouldn't do that now, but if it was a situation that,
yeah,
I don't know.
People always be like, "Oh, I'd never make that choice." It's like, you don't know.
Situations
can
never come up.
You can never say for sure exactly what you do. If you think you can, you are lying to yourself because you don't want to admit you're capable of something like that.
Yeah, I mean, nobody wants to admit they can do bad things, but like, like, look, I have an experience with that. My past is like, like when you're in. So if you're in the army, right, you have to follow orders. You do a lot of things that you morally probably wouldn't want to do. So I can't fool myself into thinking that I'm Captain America. I'm not. Or people are. That's what makes humans humans. Like they are. I don't know. They exploit things. It's just how it is.
We are very flawed individuals.
Very flawed. And if anybody says that they're perfect, they are a liar.
You are Elon Musk. That's who you are.
Yeah.
You might think you
own Twitter.
You own the cesspit.
But
I enjoyed. I thought this episode.
I loved it. I mean, again, it proves that the writing, like, I think I talked to someone that said they never watched this show because of what goes on in the part 2 of the game. And I'm like, but I think you're doing a disservice to yourself because like
it's 100, But I
preemptively
part 2 of that game, The Last of Us Part 2, caused some people. I say some people, a lot of people to have some very strong feelings, and I think it was more not for what happens. It's the realization of I don't understand the theme of this world and what the story is trying to tell me. Like,
they made a decision that was creatively,
it's
questionable.
I will fully admit I'm fine with the choice that they made. Mm-hmm. Was it done in the best way? Probably not. I think it suffered from we have to make a second one, so therefore we have an idea of what we want to do. But
do you think it was a case of like I wrote myself in the corner, and now I have to kind of maneuver out of that corner?
Not necessarily. I just think they didn't choose the best way to do what they did.
Oh, okay.
I feel like they could have handled it a little better. Maybe not do it at the start of the damn thing. Maybe wait until towards the end. But that's neither here nor there. I think.
But do you think that the show was a bit... To go back to what I said in episode 1, with the changes, do you think that they could make that choice better in the show?
I think you can make it better. Yeah, I think it's absolutely room for improvement.
I
don't know personally. I don't know how you improve it personally. That's not my wheelhouse. I just feel like there is a better way, and I feel like with the reaction that they got from that, they're absolutely gonna make that thing work.
Yeah, I mean, but I talked to like this guy I talked to was like preemptively not going to do it, not watch the show because of their decision in the game.
Yeah, I think that's kind of wild. I think that's kind of wild. But...
I think it's just like I always say it's kind of a disservice because it's like you're not even because I told him I was like it's a little bit different. It's not like a 1-for-1 translation all the time, and I use the Bill and Frank episode as an example. Like you don't get it in a game, but you, like with long form TV shows and movies, like you have an opportunity to kind of expand it and make it make your choices a little bit different, and like I think that's what they've done. I think they've done this better than any video game translation. Like they've
done the adaptation far better than anyone else has done.
Yes, they kept the spirit, the true spirit of the game alive, and yet it's not a 1-for-1 translation. They make choices that are a little bit different, but they're not so different that it's like questionable, of why they're doing it. But I don't know. To those people, I say you're losing something and you're missing out on something that might be probably one of the best.
See, I think it's silly to boycott the entire show because the second one. It's like you can just watch. Like, I don't know a single person that thinks The Last of Us, the first game, is any worse for having the second game. Like the first part is still there and it's still just as good as it always has been and always ever will be, right? Like it's one of the pantheon games ever made, right? Yeah. I've never met anyone who's ever said like, oh, the first one's now, but I can't even acknowledge the first one because of the second one. No. Yeah. I think even if you don't like the second game, I think you owe it. If you enjoyed the first game on any level, you owe it to yourself to watch this show.
Yeah, I mean,
because it is that they've somehow kept to the story.
Oh yeah, I mean,
which isn't true for a lot of adaptations. Like,
they've done
like, for better or for worse. The Marvel movies, like, they're not. How am I gonna word this without sparking a controversy in the show? Excuse me. They're not translations. I'm not even gonna say they're good or bad translations. As adaptations, they're not great, right? They're not adapting a story. They're telling their own story and using
they're only
using
them. They're using the name as a jump off point for the audience, and then they use that opportunity to craft a story that fits whatever narrative they try to they want. I mean, I'm on board with that. I'm not saying like it, but like this does it like leaps and bounds better than any video game. Like, and I include that with Sonic. I like that. I'm in the group.
I don't mind. I think the Sonic movies are fun. Now I'm never going to rave about the damn things. They're mediocre movies that you can have fun with. They are horrendous translation of the games, but the games aren't really story-rich games to begin with. Like,
they took something nothing and made something out of
exactly. Admittedly, they just took the Smurfs and made a Sonic movie with it, but that's not
I mean, but, it could be the Monster Hunter thing where it's just there's nothing there to begin with, but they
mention them. No.
It exists, man. You can't deny it.
I will deny. I rebuke that movie. I rebuke Paul W.S. Anderson. I rebuke Jovovich. I rebuke Capcom for doing it. I rebuke Sony. I do not acknowledge the existence of that movie.
They've done it with Resident Evil 2, so I mean,
those things are there.
But this is, I'm hoping that this show kind of is a jump off or foundation for other things to kind of.
I hope so, yeah. Because this is
love.
This show in the stages of development has had the same respect as like books and book adaptations, right? Like, you got like the Harry Potters, the Lord of the Rings, the Hunger Games, or whatever. Like the respect for the source material there has been shown here. Like, yes, you're gonna get some changes and things are gonna be left out, like Joel making 1,000,001 shivs and all this sort of stuff. Like, you're never gonna get that, and thank God. But there's still some video game elements here because he now has the rifle. I'm just now waiting for Joel to have a pipe. There's got to be a massive like lead pipe or a baseball bat somewhere. Like, put that on your backpack and go away.
but I think why it has that, you have someone involved that has been a part of the creation of the game, a part of the production. Whether you like Druckmann or not, him being a part of this and being actively involved with it shows that, you know, like, this is going to get the care that it needs. And like, the guy is, because he's put, you know, his blood, sweat, and tears in the game. He doesn't want it to be bastardized. So, you know, I've always said when stuff is involved, like pop culture wise, comics, video games, whatever, board games, you got to have the people that has some reverence or love, or has a connection to the property to have a
you can't pull a Witcher, right? You can't go ahead and do a Witcher, because that's because look where you end up. Look where you end up.
You'll end up with a Henry Cavill lookalike ending your series, you know. Not even a lookalike.
Have you seen they'd actually released a first look at Hemsworth as Geralt?
Like, no,
like they actually have released an image of that. I've seen people are so off of that show now that was not anywhere. That thing is DOA on Netflix. Absolutely DOA.
You know, that's. I mean, for one, Netflix is
Netflix.
The problem.
True. Very true.
But anyways, I think, you know, like it's. I don't know, man. Like, that's the writers wanting to do what they want and not listening to anybody that has. Like, if they would have listened to Cavill, because Cavill obviously has a love and reverence for that character in that world, they might have been in a different boat, you know. And like, you wouldn't have like, no disparaging Hemsworth, but you can't get Thor, you can't get the middle brother, you get the younger brother that has done an expendable movie, you know. But like,
exactly, yeah.
You know, that's where you at, you know. And I don't know, man. Like I said, I always feel like you have to have somebody that has a connection to that property involved with it, so it keeps the boat steered in the right direction. Because I always say the writer can put some stuff in there that they want to make it their own, but you also have to keep it true to the property, you know. Or you get Resident Evil, Monster Hunter, you know, the list goes on and on, man.
I've never heard that second one.
But, you know, I think that's the key element of why the show is what it is. You know, like, you have that guy.
If you're going to do it, you go completely left field and do Detective Pikachu.
I have not seen that movie yet, so
it's like the Sonic movies. It's nothing to write home about. If you were going to make a Pokemon movie, this is how you do it. A good place to start. Like, they chose a random game, a random side game, and they just made it. And it's like, you know what? It works.
For you, man.
It works. It's fun. I enjoyed it. My boy Bulbasaur gets some love in there. Like, best start ever. I mean, no qualms.
I mean, and that's how you do it. That's the recipe, right? You know, I'm sure there are people that were involved in writing the scripts for the games, or involved in the game, or maybe the studio that owns the game is more loved than Capcom ever has for any of their properties. You know, like.
Well, the sad part is Capcom like the movies that they've put. They Capcom actually like those movies. Now I'm going to chalk that up to a cultural difference, and nothing else.
I can tell you for a fact. I know someone that has dealt with them on a professional basis, and they are not the funnest people to work with. They want what they want, so, you know.
Yeah.
You know,
I can see that.
And I honestly don't see, like, I get why the Resident Evils made money, because it's just an action movie, a generic action movie with set dressing of Resident Evil, you know, like with the game, you know, and that's it. That's where the comparison ends, man. You know, after that, it just becomes its own thing, you know. And I won't talk about the other movie.
I don't know what you're talking about, so I guess that's fine.
that ghost movie, but I don't know. I think that's where the show went right. You know, so far. You know, you never know. It could go completely downhill. You know, after these episodes.
Oh, well, I tell you what. If they've just strung everyone along and say, "Hey, look at how close this is! Literally the game in live action," and they just suddenly sideswipe everything, I'm going to be so mad. You people are going to be hearing about it. I'm going to be insufferable. I promise you.
I don't think that's the case. It seems pretty
I
consistent.
hope not. It's always a fear, right? There's always the fear that someone's going to screwed it up somewhere down the line.
Well, it's like one bad decision turns into two bad decisions, and it's just a domino effect in how
It's like if my biggest worry right now, right, is that they're so afraid of a repeat of the reaction to part 2 when the game came out that they changed the ending of this.
And they paint themselves into a corner, right?
Yeah, because the ending of this directly links to the beginning of part 2, and it has to for very obvious reasons. Right? It's a very specific story beat, and right now with how close they're being, if you change the beginning of the second part, you have to change the ending of the first part, and I'd rather have the beginning of part 2 warts and all and keep the ending of part 1 than change anything. That's where I'm at right now.
So
obviously you can I say change anything, like you can tweak things, like you have, like this is not Pittsburgh there and somewhere else, and that's whatever, right? But it's just keep. I'd rather have one great season than 2 meh ones.
Yeah, I mean, especially how the show started out. It started out in such a great flick.
Yeah.
To have it just kind of stumble all the way down the hill, that would be very. It would just be like disappointing. That's the only way.
Yeah, especially with episode 5 and episode 3, right? Like, it would be such a disservice to these characters and these episodes. Like, yes, it'll be a disservice to Joel and Ellie as well, but it'd be just these types of TV of like they're so good. Like, they just need to.
So I mean, it's like if they put so much care in these first 5 episodes, obviously, or the first episodes, to see it kind of just degrade. Like, especially after episode 3, like how much love and care they put into these, tertiary characters to make people actually care about characters that have 5 minutes of dialogue in the game, and just to have it kind of fumbled away, the rest of the way is just be like, wow,
But that's my one worry. I don't believe they do it, but it's a worry that they're gonna do it.
I mean, it's happened before, and that's why it's a worry. Like, it's happened before in so many other TV shows where like you have to be kind of cynical sometimes when it comes to stuff, because it's like you won't know until it actually gets shown. That's when I'll be like, okay, calm down. Like,
it could be a case of they completely change it and it's not bad, right? It's not bad, but then you're not The Last of Us at that point. You're something entirely different. You're off the reservation. You've gone wild. I don't know what you're doing or where you're going, and it scares and confuses me.
Could you end this season 1 with a cliffhanger and then pick it up after on the season 2, and then?
I mean, part 1 kind of ends on a cliffhanger anyway.
Well, I mean, like a cliffhanger
it's an ending to the story, but it's not exactly resolved. Really?
Well, I mean, could they stop shy of that certain act that opens at season 2, or in the game 2, just to pick it up on season 2 where they left, like, and then kind of gradually in season 2 get to that point of the opening of the second game? I mean,
possibly, but they have said that the season 2 is following the events of the second game, so I can't see them following on part 1 into season 2.
I don't know. Well,
it's the impression I get is this one season is the whole of part 1, right? They're not going to carry anything over. But
I mean, I guess that's good in a way, because they weren't presumptuous that they were going to get a season 2, so they had to get that part out just to kind of like be complete story, I guess.
So it's a double end. It's just like a two-edged sword, right? It's good because you get everything, and with how everything is currently, it's set to be a really good season. But on the other side, it's like, are you going too quick through things? I'm not entirely sure about.
So I guess what you're saying is before they painted themselves in the corner, they've already painted themselves into a corner.
I suppose, kind of,
in a way, because it's like, whether you look at it or not, it might be a big issue. And I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna say, I think the show has given me enough to give it a benefit of doubt.
Oh yeah. I'm on board.
I'm not gonna like
for everything. It's just the fear is real. The PTSD of what other people have done is very much reactivated with this show right now. But
so, how many episodes is like 10? Or
there's 9. I thought there was 10. There's only 9, which is even more concerning because Sam and Henry's the halfway point of the game, and we're over halfway now. It's like, why?
It all lines up, man. I don't know, man. Like, I feel like they pick these odd numbers to like 9. Like,
I say
but I guess it's good.
No, I think we already know the length of the episodes, right? I think episode 3 is the longest of the season, so it's not a case of we only have 9 because it's 2 hours, so it's a double episode. It's not that situation, which is unfortunate, but it's 9's an odd number, and I don't like it.
Yeah,
either do 8 or 10. You land on an even. No, you don't get that.
Because like on like just the episode run times, it's like probably each episode has probably been a good hour, except for like I think it was episode 4.
I think like episode 4 was like 43 minutes or something like that. It wasn't long, but then Bill and Frank's was by far the longest. Like Bill and Frank had a good
15, right?
Yeah, so he had a good 20 minutes over Sam and Henry's episode this week, which was like 55, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see how it plays out. Like it's.
I have complete faith that they're gonna handle it well. It's just that little demon in the back of my brain being like, "There's a possibility." Obviously, there's always a possibility.
I think the audience kind of has a right to have these worries because it's like you invested so much. Like, I don't say that they have a right to tell people what to do or whatever, but they do have that right because they have invested time to have that worry, Maybe not.
So I think between the two games, like people have put in. I'm trying to think. I think the second one's like 30 hours long, and the first one's slightly short. So it's about let's just say 50 hours at least into these characters. Like that's far more than a show's ever going to do, right? You're with these characters for so long in games compared to shows. It's
there's a lot of like cutting shivs and breaking pipes. Like,
I mean the gameplay factor aside, yes, that is very much a thing.
Carving wood.
They included that in this. The Mandalorian bases, at least in season 1, base itself in the game. The way it's like, oh, cool. I did a thing, I get an upgrade. I did a thing, I get an upgrade. That was the half of the first season, and it was fantastic.
I haven't played the game, but like I assume the part where he's picking people off, in the window and trying to save Ellie has a counter to that in the game, right? Or is it just like a
What do you mean? What, that is anyone shooting back?
Well, I mean, is there a point in game where he's covering Ellie to get to a certain point?
Oh yeah, that whole thing is straight from the game. Yeah. Oh. The only difference with that bit, right, is it's not an old guy who he tries to. Which, by the way, I love the fact that he virtually begged him to not do it. Please, you're old, don't make me do this, and he still went to do it anyway. So forget that old dude, get it coming. But like in the game, it was a younger guy, and there was a fight, and then instead of the ram coming in to throw the cars about, it was just one truck with a turret.
Oh, okay.
And then you had to lean out and you still had to cover Sam, Henry, and Ellie, but you were having to dodge and avoid this truck and all that, and then all the infected come in.
I did like that scene was really great. Yeah, it was that whole scene from beginning to end with the truck and then to the infestation of clickers. And
I say that they made it a bit. I feel like they changed it up for TV, right? Like we've got a budget, it's halfway. We've been saving budget for the action. We have to make this all big and flashy because set it at night and have fire, and we're going to do this and that and that. It's like, I get it. I don't think it was horrendous. I liked it, but it was a direct result of having Kathleen there, right? Like she was, because it's literally just the one truck with the turret on top. As in, this is a whole armada of people. Like, I guess you're there to justify this, I suppose. Like, whatever, really. But it's
But I did like that scene where the infected and the bloater just come out of the ground. Like that was visually perfect. It was just. And then I seen the bloater. I was like, oh, they're here. It's done.
There's the big boy. Yeah.
You might have had a chance with the
was
clickers.
Supposed to show up with Bill and Frank. The first meet the bloaters there in the game, but that's whatever. Personally, it makes more sense for something like that to appear here, where they've been underground and allowed to infest for decades. Because the bloaters aren't supposed to be common, right? They're like the end stage of the infection.
Yeah, it's the last part
you're just covered in its fungus, and you're essentially bulletproof. Like, I was fine with that because the suit looks fantastic.
It looks great. I read the Wikipedia on the clickers and stuff like that, and I was like, man, that's got to be horrendous.
Clickers are terrifying.
You're still kind of yourself, but you're not in control of your body so much. Like it's like that's got to be the worst part. Is just knowing, like having some type of knowledge of what you're doing. And I think at the point when you're the bloater, it's just like you're just a full blown, fungus guy.
Well, that's if you get that far. You can get, they say they're the rarest type because they're the end stage. They're goddamn everywhere. The bloaters left and right.
But I think if they would have appeared in the Bill and Frank episode, I think that would have just.
I'd say it would have been out of place. It would have been out of place, definitely.
Plus, it would have been a disservice to the episode because it was just like that wasn't the point of the episode, anyways.
No.
At the point was just like to kind of get a day in a life or years and years, a lifetime span of these two characters, and like you actually get to know them. But the Raider, I don't know. They're, I don't know. But like it was just probably one of my favorite scenes in the episode. Next to the end scene with Sam and Henry, like that really was a gut punch,
I say I'm still not over just how quick it was. His reaction to shooting Sam and then being like, without even any dialogue. There was no dialogue from him in the slightest.
What did I do?
Bang, and then oh no, dude.
I mean,
I actually had to rewind that because I didn't hear the second gunshot. I was like, I know, I knew what he did. It didn't. I didn't hear that. I think my brain just turned off at that point.
Yeah.
It cut back on when then he started talking. It's like, oh.
But it was just like such a gut, like because that's exactly what it would be like in real life. Like he spent decades trying to redeem himself, and the next thing you know, he's like he had to. The kid survived for so long just to have him die at the hands of him.
And it says the same as the Bill and Frank episode without the dialogue.
Yeah,
no, you don't have them slap you in the face with that. You're my purpose. I've had my fill.
Yeah,
and
it's
the exact same thing. It's just without saying it, and I appreciate that bit.
It's a different version of that story,
Yeah,
because it's like like they have that same function, but it's like it's a different side or different story because everybody.
Yeah.
It's
the darker side to like the needing someone to survive in this world.
Yeah,
because you also got Ellie's like, I don't want to end up alone. It's like, well, spoiler.
Yeah. But like, I think the Bill and Frank one was like probably, and this is gonna be weird to say, but the happiest version of that story.
Yeah, it was the happy ending, right? Like you can get the happy ending. Sam and Henry are the bad ending. You don't want the Sam and Henry ending. Like Bill and Frank were very lucky. Sam and Henry are the horrendous. Like no one deserves that.
That was the more like the worst case scenario,
Yeah. Like, even if the kid's got leukemia, right? Even if he wasn't meant to live, like no one deserves to.
Yeah, I mean,
I did appreciate the fact that he didn't do the cliche of like, no, I can't do. There's no pleading. Yeah. He just don't. He just does it.
It was his facial features and his like actions that were better than any word could have been spoken, right?
Yeah, the acting there was fantastic.
Yeah, you got everything you needed to know just based off how he was reacting and looking. His face, man, said it everything. If he would have said something, it probably would have ruined it. I think it was
100%. Yeah. I needed no words there. No, was
I mean, I know exactly what he's thinking. I know what he's thinking in his head. You know, like
you can see it on his face. You can just see the words are scrolling down like the old Star Wars intro.
It's like a teleprompter.
That's the one, teleprompter. No, I couldn't think of the word.
But yeah, you know, like that's the beauty of the show is like a lot of people's like, and that's how you know you got the right actors for the right parts, because like, you know, like if you don't need dialogue to tell the story, that it's perfect, right? That's best case scenario when you want an actor, you know, like everything's been spot on since then. But like these people's faces say everything, you know, like they've been through this is hell, you know, this is pure, you know, living hell, you know, like this is I mean, you're gonna worst case scenario, you turn into a fungus and become a collective. Best case scenario, you die, but you die with a loved one or something, you know, and that's just
it's not great options either way, but
there's no option C. It's either A or B, you know. Like you become them or you die on your own terms.
I mean, not necessarily. Episode 2 showed us there is an option C. You become a fungus and love. You know, you can get on with normal people. Like, it's disgusting, but you can get it on. Like,
but that's still not ideal. Okay.
No.
You're stuck to a wall and you're waiting for people to come by. You know.
Yeah, it's
glorified bear trap. You know, but yeah, you know, I was talking with somebody. I was like, I honestly don't know how long I could survive, like in this world. You know, like it's just
I wouldn't even bother. Wouldn't even bother. Couldn't do it. Could not do it. I'd be like, I just need the tallest thing that would jump off it. Like, let me just.
At the end of the day, you're doing them a favor, right? That's one less clicker or whatever that they would have to fight. You know,
exactly.
You know, but some people are just like, and I get it. You know, survival mode. But it's like, yeah, like if you can't survive in this world, if there's any doubt in your mind, you know, just do everybody a favor, man.
It's like, look, I'm big enough, right? Just take me out and eat me. If you think you can survive, just eat me.
I think the only thing with me is like if my children or my wife were still alive, I think that would probably be motivation to do something. But like if I was like not with them, I don't know.
See, yeah, you have the a horrendous dilemma I would not want myself. But for me, it's easier, right? It's just like, you know what? Yeah, I'm done. Yeah.
Mommy's
I'm
dying.
I've had my fill. My purpose is fulfilled. I'm
had
okay
35 years, man. Or whatever.
Like you got some slight conundrums to figure out.
Yeah. But
then I guess kids will make excellent distractions depending on how they're acting that day. Right.
Yeah. Depends, man. You know, I can always get another kid, right?
Exactly. You know, if the little one's being loud, toss him.
I don't know.
Teach him a lesson he won't forget. Not that I condone the violence of children.
Death is definitely a good lesson.
No, just I'll teach you to be quiet. Thump.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what I would do in that situation, but you know, it's thankfully nothing like that ever happened in my life.
You say that, you know, there's the fungus in California and the stuff in Ohio. The two things could merge, and hey, the chemical fires. I mean, you know, the chemicals are in the water now. Like those people are gotta help.
I did read on the Valley, I think it's Valley Fever or something like that, and it's like I made the mistake by Googling it, and I was like, oh man, come on, really? Why did this come out right?
So luckily, I don't think it's cordyceps. I don't think it's cordyceps in California, so it might be okay. But it's nothing to say it won't be the cordyceps. Which, if that's the case, I'm glad there's a large puddle between you and me.
All I can say is, I guess that's a better enough reason to go move back to New York, man. Because you know, like,
I mean, if you want to prolong it, sure, I guess, right? But
take a road trip, you know.
Fun guy spreads quick.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're gonna bring this to a close.
we've
much
made
like
an
the
explanation.
current state of the planet. We will close this off right now. So yeah, we'll be back for episode 6, hopefully, because we managed to get this one out, which was close, but hey, we did it. So yeah, thanks everyone for joining, and we'll catch you all next week. So bye bye.
Bye bye.